Dakota, Dakota, where art thou, Dakota? I mean, where the heck is this 2022 Ram Dakota at? Or is it even going to be called a Dakota nowadays? Because I identified 3 issues that's holding the Dakota back from release right now. And issue number 1 is... What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'll be your host, Butter the Great. And so basically, let's talk about this Dakota real quick. The Dakota was lastly seen around, 2011? It was a Dodge Dakota at one point in time, and then when Ram separated from Dodge, it became a Ram Dakota for a short time, and then it got written off because a lot of people was not even buying them, right? It wasn't that cheap. Essentially, from what I can remember, it was basically about the same price as a Ram 1500. So if it's right around the same price, who wants to buy a mid-size truck when you get a full-size truck for around the same price? And that's part of the problem now. Now, like I said earlier, there is a mule for the Dakota running around. We've seen this in public. It's obvious this is a Dakota. It looks smaller. It's obviously based off the Ram 1500 current platform. And with 1500s getting to like a higher and higher base price MSRP, so the market is ripe for a mid-size truck from Ram. I mean, Gladiator's doing good. Ford is about to offer, what, 2 mid-size trucks, or a mid-size and small truck, right? Because, I mean, they got the Ranger, and anybody had this little Maverick truck running around. Toyota doing their thing with the Tacoma. Chevy got their mid-size truck, right? So, I mean, the marketplace is ripe for a mid-size truck, but why hasn't it come yet? Now, issue number 1 for pretty much any new vehicle is going to be COVID, right? COVID is causing manufacturers to have a tough time making this, making that, get parts, all this, yada, yada, yada. If you're familiar with the TRX production, it's going up and down, up and down, up and down all year, right? The Ram 1500s, right? Parts issues, chip issues, right? They had to drop certain packages off the 1500s. They had to shut down plants here and there. Ford having all these daggone F-150s built, but they can't release them because they're missing chips in them. So at least for another year or two, COVID is going to play a huge role in vehicles either not being released or getting delayed, right? So that's a quick, easy one for number 1. Now, the number 2 issue is the Ram Classic getting extended, right? Now, currently the Ram Classic will be in production for at least 1 more production year. Now, the reason why it affects the Dakota is simple, because the price. Because if you look at the starting price of these other vehicles that's in the 20K range, let's look at it, right? The cheapest Ram Classic you can get right now is 28K MSRP. If you look at the Ford Ranger, that's 24K MSRP. If you look at the Toyota Tacoma, that's 26K MSRP. If you look at the Chevy Colorado, that's 25K. So if you look at all those vehicles, the Ram Classic is essentially $2,000 more expensive than its nearest competitor. So it is right there in the ballpark of mid-sized trucks. Now, for comparison, the 5th gen Ram that the TRX is based off of, that one their starting price is 32K MSRP. So you got like a $4,000 difference between the Ram Classic and the Ram 1500. So Ram selling 2 1500s puts the Dakota in between a rock and a hard place, right? Because Ram has to make this Ram Classic, because the Ram 1500, the 5th gen version, does not come in a single cab configuration. So they need that right there for like fleet and commercial sales. So that's the reason why they can't get rid of that one. And then the other problem is, the Ram Classic 28K, how much is the Dakota gonna be priced? 24 along with the Ranger, make it around that price. 25 at the Colorado. I mean, where is the Ranger, not the Ranger, I mean the Dakota gonna be priced at? So that Dakota has to be priced anywhere between $24,000 and $28,000. And if it's priced anywhere near 28K, who want to buy the Dakota when they get a Classic that's gonna be a bigger truck? And a couple $1,000s, you can tell somebody, well, you either get the Dakota or you get into the Classic and you get way bigger room and stuff like that. So I'm gonna pick the Classic. Because the $4,000 difference, if they price at 24K between the Dakota and the Classic, is not gonna be the same thing between the Classic and the daggone 5th gen 1500, because those are 3 very different trucks. But it's not to say that Dakota's not coming. It just right now, Ram has a vehicle to fill that spot in a couple different ways. Until Ram come up with a single cab in the new 5th gen Ram, then I don't think you're gonna see the Dakota, right? And more than likely, how everything's shaping out, all these new engines and stuff coming out in the next couple of years, we probably won't see the Dakota for probably another 2 years maybe. So that's like what, model year 24 when you can potentially see the Dakota coming out, mainly because of that, because I don't see them coming up with a single cab variant of the 5th gen right now, because it's gonna be right there in the middle of a refresh cycle. So I'm pretty sure that the next generation version of the Ram 1500 is going to be taking place around model year 24, because if you think about it, it's been out since 2019, and 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 6 years. You can't really have a pickup truck stay around that long and it don't be changed. It's not the same thing with like a Challenger, right? Or a Charger. You can't have that same body style stay around for like 13 years and don't change it. It don't work like that in pickups. My sources originally told me it's supposed to come out this year, but I don't see it coming out right now with them making the classic, the 1500 5th gen, and the Dakota at the same time, and all three are right there in the price range. It's just too concentrated in the same price range. So my gut feeling is when the Ram Classic gets discontinued, then we'll see the Dakota. Just saying. Now issue number 3 might be the most important one, because with this issue right here, they might not be able to call it Dakota. They might go through a name change. And I'll tell you why. If you notice, Dakota is a Native American word, right? If you notice the last few years, there's been more and more pressure from Native Americans against companies to use either their names or their likeness on any logos or vehicles or teams, for example. Because you just remember last year, the Washington football team had to drop their name and their mascot because they were starting to get pressure from the sponsors like FedEx, Pepsi, all them. They was threatening to drop all support for the team. The Cleveland baseball team, they're gonna drop their name after this year. And it doesn't just stop there. The Atlanta Braves, they're not letting them use the tomahawk and all that motion and stuff. They can't do that no more. The Chicago Blackhawks can't wear any head dressing. What was that? They can't see the Chiefs. They want them to get rid of their logo and all that stuff, referring to Native Americans. They're coming in hard for all these companies saying anything related to Native Americans. And those are just sports teams. Let's go back to the automotive world, because just in March of this year, there was a big article coming out that the Cherokee Nation did not want Jeep to use the Cherokee name on the Jeep Cherokee and the Grand Cherokee. And then later on in March, the CEO of Stellantis literally said that they are open to changing the Jeep name. They're going also to change one of the packages, the Mojave package, because that's another name of a Native American tribe. You think they would come up with a Dakota and they go through that crap again? So them changing the Jeep Cherokee and the Mojave package name is most likely going to happen sometime in the near future. So I do not have any concrete proof that's going to happen to the Dakota, but it doesn't make sense for Stellantis to release the Dakota with that Indian name, or sorry, Native American name, and they're going to rechange the names for the Jeep Cherokee. Now, them changing the Dakota name is not something I heard from sources or rumors, anything like that. It just makes sense given the fact that the Jeep Cherokee and the Mojave package are definitely going to be under the chopping block in the next year or two, which I figure out a replacement name for them, right? So it doesn't make sense for Stellantis to come out with the Dakota if they're going to change another Native American vehicle name and they had to do it all over again. It makes more sense why the vehicle is shelved to come out with another name now and then release it under that new name rather than release it and they got to change it again. So I'm going to say it again. They'll change the Dakota name. That is a pure guess on my part. But like I said, it just doesn't make sense. And if you think about it, that could be another reason why the Ram Classic got extended for another year, because this whole thing with the name and stuff came out with the Native Americans. They might need another year to change the name, because another thing they got to do is they got to file a new trademark for a new name, right? And it just came out a couple weeks ago that they filed another trademark to renew the CUDA name, because they already got Barracuda and CUDA, and the speculation about they're gonna make like an electric vehicle with that name, or at least make a convertible version of the next generation Challenger with that name, make that like a trim package. So it makes sense for them to extend the Classic for one more year to give them time to make another name for the Dakota and then release it under that new name. I got a pretty good suspicion that once we see a new name that Ram trademarks, that might be the name for the new Dakota, especially if it sounds real trucky, because I know there's one more name that they use for the Dakota overseas, because there's like some kind of mid-sized truck, blah, blah, blah. They sell in the Middle East called a Ram 1200, but Ram 1200 over here doesn't really sound right? Yeah, it's pretty sure gonna be a name. So in a nutshell, I think 2 more years we'll see the Dakota replacement, especially when they see them trademark a new name, just like, you know, when the name for the Bronco Raptor got leaked. Ford went through and had to rename the Bronco Raptor variant to the Bronco Warhol. They had to trademark that name. I think Ram gonna do the exact same thing. They got this issue with the Native Americans, change the Cherokee name. They're gonna go rush and find them a new name, change the Dakota to, file a patent, and then bam, there we go. That's gonna be the new name for the Dakota. Just saying. So you heard it here first. Let me know down in the comments, do you think, are they gonna release the Dakota with the same name and had to potentially had an issue with Native Americans again? Do you think they're gonna change the name just like how Ford did with the Bronco Warhol? Do you think it's gonna come in 2 years? And if there's another vehicle you want me to just snoop around and try to get some data on, let me know in the comments too. And that's gonna do it for this video. Let me know down below your thoughts. Help a butter out with a like and a subscribe. Until the next video,